Times have been tough, no doubt about it. Tough on all of us. But you know what? So be it. The Workers Club. I love the name.
Okay, so let's get. Oh yeah, that was another one. Yeats shows up. That's out of the gate.
Yep.
So he says to all the professional wrestlers I've ever watched or worked with, which worked with is about 6, if we think he is who he is, for making a small piece of my heart a place where dreams will always be possible. And to my father for giving me the spark. So I assume that he means another father figure, because he's now set on, which we'll get into when we get in this book here. But he said in the
he's a bastard.
Yeah, he in the real life, he says I didn't really know his father. And then in this book, he acts like a bastard, but they say he died of cancer.
Right, which is not a bastard, correct.
Yeah, and then I keep going, wait, your dad didn't leave you guys. There's little things he keeps writing where it's like, but no, he died. A horrible, painful death, and you were there. So, he starts
being
off...
a dick to him.
He starts off the John Keats quote, "What shocks the virtuous philosopher delights the chameleon poet." What'd you think of that when you cracked that open? You're like, shit.
I didn't give it a lot of thought. I mean, I was just shocked that Keats was being quoted.
Yeah. Okay, so the first chapter is called Ladies and Gentlemen, and it starts off where it's a flashback.
And every chapter is going to be like that. It's in the present tense of him in this championship match.
Yeah.
And they're going to call it in the ring, or they're not going to know the winner until they're in the ring.
Yeah. Or it's a flash forward, I suppose. Because the book is him growing up, and so it's in italics, so I assume that this is him thinking. So he must be thinking. This is where you're losing. It's in italics, which means he's thinking, but he's in the future of his childhood. Is he thinking back on his past? I guess he's thinking back on his past. I think if you asked him, he'd say that's the structure. And I'm sorry.
That's how I read it.
Yeah, so all of the main book should be in italics, and the regular
I mean, really,
book.
it's just like Foley's book, right? It was written at the title win, and I think he might have even started with that.
Yeah, there should be a record scratch in here. That's me. How did I get here? He does start out of the gate. He says, he's doing up his boots, and he says, "I'm about to commit fraud in front of 10 million witnesses."
That's right.
Which, again, in 2000, I keep thinking every time I'm reading them, I'm like, this guy's writing this in 2000. He should have kept with this.
Yeah,
millions will be watching through closed-circuit television. 80,000 of them are just outside, and it's Giant Stadium. That's where he's at.
Closed circuit?
I don't know. Yeah, and I'm like, wait, what year is this? And then I was paying attention. What year is he saying this is exactly? And then this is, I highlighted the first example of this. A lot of this, it does come off like somebody's first. I was like, man, this guy could have used an editor, or I don't know if he did.
I got some passages highlighted, absolutely.
Or something that I was like, oh, some of this stuff. And I found, there's something I kept finding was, he gets really, that thesaurus must have been right there, but also on top of it, he's like, I gotta really juice a lot of this stuff. So when he's describing the room, there's a mirror that stands in the middle of the far wall, and it's intimidating and unapologetic, which I was like, okay. But there's a lot, all of a sudden things take on this very grand nature. He's like, yeah, there's all this, he gets really into it. Like, so he's Michael Harding. That's his name.
Mr. Michael Harding.
Mr. Michael Harding. And he's...
okay, I mean, here's the Shawn Michaels thing, is that he's looking to fulfill a childhood dream. Yes.
And he's working for the World Wrestling Organization. And he's going to try and defeat this is a world title match. and it's at Slam Fest. Yes. Now, okay, so here's then the first person that comes in, where I highlighted him. He gets a knock at the door, and it's Hippo Hailberg.
Okay, every wrestling executive in this book to me is just a fat guy chomping a cigar.
Yeah,
that's how I read it. That's the voice I read it in.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you. So who is your knee jerk? Like, who is this guy?
I don't even picture a realistic person in my head. I picture like the Jesse Ventura movie for NBC.
Yeah.
Those types of over-the-top characters. That's just the way it's written.
I started trying to figure out and writing notes of like who I thought in his mind. Like
I have a couple later on for sure.
Yeah, this one because it's Hippo, quote unquote, Hailberg, and he's
Gorilla?
an executive. Yep, Gorilla. That's
okay,
what I thought.
Okay.
Gorilla. So he's got yellow knee pads. He's got long hair. He's looking in his mirror.
He's all gassed up.
He's gassed up. He's ready to. The crowd has come to lose themselves in the brutality of choreographed violence. For the first time in my life, I will be stepping into a ring with absolutely no knowledge of how the upcoming match will end. So he has not been told. This has not been predetermined. So then he goes into into the wrestling. He kind of starts with wrestling, and
Well, what do you mean? Starts with? I mean, right.
He kind of says participation in the world of. He kind of is like, I've met countless fall-ins, which is funny for him to write this. He seems like a guy that kind of like fell in, and it was like,
okay, because he says it's desired by only a unique.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, one former amateur wrestling champion told me he considered professional wrestling a basic career change. Well, that's like saying a switch from a pauper to a millionaire.
I bet Ken Patera told him that.
So, he says his groundwork is laid at a Cub Scout father-son softball game during the summer of my 10th birthday. And this is where I also noticed a lot of everyone gets a name, like first and last, everybody.
Yeah. And they don't need a paragraph of backstory usually either.
Yeah, there's Max Egan and his father. They were in the same 4th grade class. I also highlighted, this is just something I liked. He talked about Max Egan, this kid he knows. His dead mother had very thin, precise features. And I was like,
he's got a couple weird descriptions of looks like that.
I just was like, there must have been this woman that was a dead or something that he was like.
Yeah. Well, he'll do it later on about his aunt, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And about how her Jewish nose had been sculpted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's batting at this game, and he thinks everyone's laughing at them. He's not doing well, and now he says, "I cursed the fucking Cub Scouts," which I enjoy. I cursed. It could have just been, "I cursed the Cub Scouts." He went, "I cursed the fucking Cub Scouts." So he gets a hit. Somebody says, "Good job, kid."
I mean, I don't know what this mosquito story is all about. Who cares?
Yes. Well,
I mean, these 3 pages didn't need to be in here.
I can.
I mean, is it going to be symbolic later on?
I will tell you. It's the first start. Yeah, it's a whole theme. Okay.
No, I guess you're right. What, his tapping of his arm when he's nervous?
There's that. I wrote here, so they're all doing the high five at the end of the game, which is, common with little league games and stuff like that. It looked and sounded so easy, but remained a mystery to me. Even that, so right now he's saying even just the act of high-fiving after a game, he's like, huh? Yeah. He came across a lot in this, like somebody, as Steve, our friend Steve would say, with exceptionalities of some sort,
Okay.
He's struggling. He doesn't, he struggles with interacting with people, simple interactions. He's constantly like hurting himself or squeezing himself, which goes into something he talks about. So they're booming voices. He's got a hot dog. He's pressing his finger. He's very tactile in the book. He's pressing his finger into the bun and then into his flesh. He's also touching himself. And he says here, this is where it starts. The need to touch something in order to confirm its actual existence. And so then that he's with wrestling, and us talking about it is making this book. Did he write a good book? I'm like, so he's constantly, this starts this thing where he doubts his reality, his existence. He doesn't know if he's real or not. He's constantly got to touch himself and pain and stuff to be like, yes, I'm real. And again, 2000. So like he's like writing this little blueprint that I feel like other wrestling biographies were kind of like dancing around. Like they didn't write down. Like
Flair used to do that.
Where it's like they could just write
that when he was having his panic attacks, that he couldn't feel his fingertips and he'd have to pinch them.
Yeah. I feel like all those guys should have just had a page where, like him, he's just writing, I had to touch myself to make sure I was real. And all these guys should just write that, and the rest of Mick Foley should have just been like, look, I was doing this to make sure I existed and that I matter. So he says, I'm always scratching my arms, poking my legs. I just need to make sure I was still there. So then, yeah, you're right. A mosquito bites him, and he goes to this long mosquito thing, and he hits it, and then it's like stained with blood, and he's like scratching at the thing. He's scratching, he's drawing his own blood, and he's eating his hot dog, and then he says, he touches himself, and he goes, I'm still alive for now. He's like 10. He's 10. And then somebody says his name, and boy, you better believe it was a high-pitched shotgun blast. Which, I'm going back and I'm going through The Stand again by Stephen King, and I'm giving this guy way too much crap because Stephen King is like,
doing the same thing.
Yeah, it's a lot of like the plate gleamed. It's like the plate gleamed like a da 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 da. It's like the plate. Okay, I too tend to be more of a fan of somebody like very short.
Sure.
Bukowski, just like straight, like not a lot of fluff, like just boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
But look, I love Stephen King. But some of it is very.
Yeah.
I've never heard. I'm not even gonna into it. When we pick a Stephen King book, I'll bring it up. Some of his tropes. Okay.
Well, we get the bastard rant next.
Yes, bastard. Yes, they call him a bastard. They ask him about his dad, and he's not just like, he's not here. He died.
Yeah.
It's like in this veil of mystery and kind of like, what happened? The word, by the way, bastard, this word saturated the surrounding air with hostility. A chorus of hammers striking steel drums.
He's trying.
So I know that's where I'm sitting, I'm reading, I'm going, God, he's like, I'm doing this. He isn't, to be fair, if he's trying to capture the boom, he's trying, he wants people to like it. He's not going, well, I wrestled, here's the 4 stories, self-published. So then he runs away. This is where I jogged the rest of the way home with my eyes closed. I'm sorry, but you wouldn't make it very far with your eyes closed, dude.
Sure.
Mom wasn't home. I did highlight this because he let himself in with his key, which hung on a thin leather rope around my neck. That's why you're being bullied. He was confused as to why they were picking on him earlier. It's because you're the kid with the key around your neck. I had that kid in elementary school, and it wasn't a good... He moved. Not because of that, probably, but he wasn't having a good time.
If you think that's why that detail is in there, I suppose it fits. Because otherwise, that's 8 words I don't even need. I don't care how you got in the house. You got home.
I think he put that in there because that's how he lived, and that will get you bullied in school. Did you have anybody like
then
that?
I take back what I'm saying then.
I mean, I assume he's writing, and like since he didn't have an editor, stuff like this where he's like, and then that's what I was wearing, and that's like, right. But that's, I mean, did you have a kid like that in school at all?
Yeah, I mean, the kid who wrote his name on his tennis shoes so that they wouldn't get stolen or get lost. Again, I was a bully, so
I spent so many times in class just staring at people and like, why is that? I went into I did like also this. I went into the kitchen for a glass of water, avoiding my favorite big brown mug. I was like 10. Okay. Anyways, bastard. Um, so it cuts to then he lives his life. He's with his mom. He watches wrestling. He says, "Do men that big really exist?"
Well, but hang on, and before, well, I don't know, to get bogged down in the details, but he's doing more
Yeah.
tapping of his thighs, and he can't make himself stop.
Oh, yes.
And then he finds wrestling on TV, and he likes it.
Oh yeah. Okay. So then, yeah, he's like, okay, which is okay. Yeah, that's common. Which is funny because of all the other, like, he goes into all this other great detail about this, that, or the other. And then it's like the thing that like makes like wrestling is like, I don't know. So I saw wrestling on the TV. Anyways, back at
Yeah,
school.
pretty much. You're right. It gets the least description.
Yeah, he's sitting there, and he moves on. And he's at school, and he's in the bathroom, and the bullies have cornered him yet again. And he's thinking back to wrestling, and he's like, by the way, so I'm just gonna say this begins where somebody's writing something. And this is in books, movies, where they're like, "This is cool," and they don't realize as they're writing it, like if you were like outside, if somebody was really doing this, they're insane people.
Okay, this is again a thing I could take two different ways. Right, it could be incredibly corny, or it could be how someone with exceptionalities would respond to bullies.
I was thinking about that too, like, oh, he wrote down what
And
happened
the
to
bullies
him.
would then feel bad and back off,
Yeah,
because then it's just sad.
I also had both thoughts where I was like, because I was already thinking like, okay, this guy has exhibited. It's just a few pages. Somebody should have diagnosed this young man and been like helping him instead. He's like really struggling.
It's the 80s.
So then I'm like, when he did this, I was like, oh, I could see it that way, like you were saying. Like this is just him being like, this is what happened to me, probably. I don't imagine him being who he was, from what I could tell, is just through post, that he was like inventing much. He's trying to write from his own experiences and like blowing up which I think when the wrestling stuff is when he blows it up the most.
Okay.
So he cuts a promo on these kids, and he knocks a hand away and he says, "You want some of me, little man?" I roared in a voice that, although unfamiliar, was immediately comfortable. And he cuts a promo on them. He's going to take on all three of them. I mean, he's going. And he says, and he ends it with, "I'll beat you 1, 2, 3." And they all just back away. They're just like, "You're weird." And they leave. And he's like, "Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, you're weird." That's what they finally just say. And then he goes back. So he feels good. And he looks at the scab from the mosquito bite. And he starts scratching at it. And he watches the blood run. And then he also says, by the way, nobody ever bothered me again. Because now I'm the weird guy at school.
Yeah.
And that bite eventually did heal. And it left behind a scar as small and unique as a snowflake. And I was just like, again, this guy,
Yeah.
I can't decide if, I mean, he's trying. He is trying. So he says, I turned 14 in 1984. I wrote here, oh, is he born in 1970? Which I was only off by a couple years. I'm like trying to figure out when he's born.
Yeah.
So he's aged himself up, he's aged himself up a couple years.
And he's describing Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
Except he's Sonny, the Dream.
The American Dream. Come on, Ben. The American Dream. Sonny Logan.
And he's wrestling Cowboy Jesse Buke.
Yes. And he goes into, which, by the way, Sonny Logan refers to his arms as cannons, not pythons.
23-inch cannons, right?
Uh-huh. Yep.
And we're at the Rosemont.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of who Cowboy Jesse Buke is.
I think I wrote it down.
Might be Bob Orton. I don't know who Hogan would have been working in '84.
I think I looked that up and I was like, it can't be Jesse.
Yeah, it could be. It could be. 84.
I mean, Jesse was, WrestleMania, and he's going. He is at that time still going. He's like putting it into commentary that, we could lock up.
No, I think Jesse was still working in '84.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it is. Maybe he just went Cowboy Jesse Butte. I had something here I thought, well, I was like, oh, okay. But he doesn't talk about. So basically,
But
so.
yeah, he
Go
tells
ahead.
this story about meeting Logan by slipping beneath the bleachers and going backstage, which
Yes.
we're not in a high
At the
school
Rosemont.
gym.
I know. Yes. I was like, so he just wandered back and he just leaves. So he goes there with his. Does he say who he goes with? Is it his mom? I don't know.
He
He
does
goes.
not say.
So he meets Hulk Hogan. He meets Dream.
And what's
And
he say?
hi, Dream.
No. What's the dream
Oh,
say?
oh, how's it going, brother? Yeah. Um.
And he was wearing a World Dream jacket,
Yeah, he's wearing a yeah.
not the
He's wearing,
Rivera Steakhouse jacket.
no. Um. Yeah, the World Gym insignia on the back of his leather jacket. But what I highlighted here was it was the first time I ever shook hands with one of the men whose image I had taken from the wrestling ring and used to fill the vacant place in all the pictures of my mother and me. So the mom has taken out the dad who died of cancer, taken him out, and then he's like, oh, what? I imagine wrestlers in there now. And it's like, why did she take out the pictures?
Why do you say it that way?
About what way?
I just think there are pictures taken after the age of 5 when Dad died.
I took
You
it
think
as
Mom is
I
taking
took
Dad
I took
out
it as
of
that
pictures,
because the way they keep
photoshopping
talking
them?
about it, I'm like, what happened? But
Maybe he
maybe you're
was
right.
illiterate.
Maybe you're right.
Okay.
Well, I mean, he's like the kids are calling me bastard. It'd be like, well, you can fix that quickly by being like, no, my dad died. I have a dad. He just died. Uh, so he
But
says,
anyway,
he meets him, and he
yeah, I'm
goes, I was
sorry. Go
privy
ahead.
to a special secret. It's an illusion.
Well,
Um,
you got to say why, because
oh,
he
yes.
he saw
Yes.
Sonny and Cowboy Jesse
Yes.
shaking hands, getting
Yes.
into their limos.
Yeah, yeah, get in the limos. Um, and he says, after all that, two extraordinary things happened that next week. I didn't feel the need to touch that hand to confirm its existence that he shook,
Yeah.
and then he began lifting weights. And this is if Meltzer was reading this. He's a smile has crept on his face
He's got the sickness. But
because
hang on, another really beautiful line I love.
okay.
A few minutes later, I floated out of the arena into a night sewn together by sticky heat.
That is good. See now, if Gus was here, we could ask him about those Chicago nights outside the Rosemont. The sticky heat.
I'm sure they were sticky.
And did he ever, as a young man, float out of the Rosemont into the sticky heat, like just light as air?
Yeah.
I have to ask Larry, have you ever floated out of a wrestling show and just been like, amazing?
Yeah, I probably did. It's the time I
Really?
got to be involved in one.
Oh,
There was
that
wrestling
was
at the high school gym, independent show, Garfield
Yeah.
Heights. I mean, this is
Yeah.
30,000 people. But the opening match had a local jobber who Mick Foley mentions in his book, Lord Zoltan. Old guy from Pittsburgh, worked the Midwest. And the face, Zoltan was the heel, the face was an All-American Gimmick, T.C. Reynolds. And I was sitting first row, and he had Zoltan crotched around the post. And he pulled me out, and I got to pull one leg, and he pulled the other leg. And that,
Dude, that said, oh my gosh, like I mean, yeah, I was gonna probably say probably the youngest show where I was like, okay, like that first show, I probably was like, I mean, in that first show, I mean, I saw some guys out at Razor Ramon and stuff like that. It was a new generation show in Pacific California. When the Undertaker came out, I was a mark,
Who'd
in that
work that night?
where I was like, did it get colder in here? Like what the? I was like, oh shit, it's legit.
Who did Taker work that night?
Shoot, let me look it up. Hold
Don't
on.
even remember.
I mean, it was a lot.
See, my
of
first
guys.
show was
It
Bret
a
Hart and
lot.
Mr. Hughes on top.
That was not auditorium. Wasn't it? No. I went during the Hakushi Bret Hart fade. That was Smoking Guns. You know, it was the Raw. I saw the taping of the Raw where Bam Bam Bigelow turns face against Money Incorporated.
Okay.
Ted DiBiase's stable at the time. And so when he came out with his new gear that fired off the flames, I was like, oh shit, I know something that nobody else knows. I had that like moment. Let's see. That would have been 95, I think. Let's see. Undertaker defeated Sid in a dark match. Sid was at that show. Jeff Jarrett and Rhodey defeated Razor Ramon and 123 Kid. Adam Bomb. Another little story about that card, real quick, is that I was a young, 95. I was, a little bit over 10, I think, and there were some older young men there at the show. And we had seats by the aisle, so we just had to run down to run this and then be at the aisle. There's some teenagers, young or slightly older teenagers, and anytime a jobber, they'd be coming down the aisle after losing, they'd be like, good job, yeah, that was great. The minute the guy's back was like this, just past them, slurs, all slurs, whatever, usually towards the homophobic side. Okay. You stink. At the time, I was just like, that's odd, but now, what a bit. Yeah. What a bit. The guy's like, Scott Taylor's there with his mullet. Sure. Scott Taylor, he's going, thank you. The hell? Yeah. So he says, Ben Peller says, okay. He's talking about kids' dreams. I stuck at me where he says, they dream of being a magician or an astronaut. But then he goes, but then pro wrestling, nobody dreams of because it lacked their respectability. And I was like, magicians? All right. So he says he was 5'5" and 115 pounds, which I'm like, that's short. 5'5" short. You're not going to get.
But he's only a freshman.
I guess so. Okay, so yeah, he's alluding to that he's going to have a growth spurt. Okay.
Yeah.
Does he ever tackle his height? Does he ever say how he talks about his weight?
I know he talks about how that's what he was as a freshman. I don't remember what he goes up to though. Yeah. He
talks to his mom. He asks, "Was Dad big?" And she studies the screwdriver in her hand. And I like that. She's thinking, and she's looking at the screwdriver. So she's thinking about, is Dad big? She's probably thinking, flathead or Phillips? What did I need? What's going on?
And I love that he had a desk job at the Board of Exchange.
Yes. She might have been studying an old picture in her mind. There were none. This is where. There were none. In that I knew of in the park.
I mean, she could just upset her because she misses him so much.
That's how much her grief is. I took it more as if I wanted,
cutting him out.
She's cutting him out. The grief is so much I cannot look at him. I'm taking all the pictures out. That's where I was like, wait, did the pictures cut out or wait, what's happening? So he says I want to get big. She does not like that idea. I want to get big. I want to be a pro wrestler. So he has a muscle journal. That's what he calls it, a muscle journal.
Yeah, I just X'd out these paragraphs because, who cares? This is every guy who works out telling you how much
he does. He puts a vague goal of 1 million pounds.
Is that a thing?
That's where I got confused because he says then, not like about a paragraph later, he says, I reached 1 million pounds by my 16th birthday. Oh. So then I was like, that's cumulative. I didn't Google it. I didn't look into it. Yeah. I've never heard of it.
Okay, but here he says by the end of his junior year, he grew 7 inches and was 192.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Hey, by the way, we're 14 pages in.
I know. That's wild. Look, I was going to say, should we just
the bullet points?
Should we just do the 2 hour? Just each chapter is 2 hours? And then people can
Jesus
say,
Christ, that's
and
fucking...
people can say, I've been looking for this podcast that's long.
It's pretty much reading you the book.
Maybe he wrote a good book because I'm like, I mean, if you look at the thing, I've highlighted almost every page where I was like,
My highlights have been almost exactly the same as yours.
yeah. My family described his goals as crazy and then murky. His mother says murky.
Now, you know, I've told you the story. This is not far off from me, except I just didn't like working out. But going to wrestling school was my plan for all 4 years of high school, to where I neglected to even apply to
Let
college.
me tell you this. I applied to college. I went to a state college. No application needed. And it was I also, but I like you was like, there's nobody like Sami Zayn that's going. I was like, no fans will ever become. And look, they're great. Everyone that's wrestling right now is great.
It was
Legit.
better when they weren't fans.
But there is that element where I was like, oh shit, I could have carved up some kind of meme niche career. I could have been, I mean, some of these guys wrestling for GCW right now, it's like, okay, the fan thing has gone too much. Not everybody should be, I mean,
Yeah.
I guess, I mean, no, it's also part of the times where if it was 1998, I wouldn't be seeing GCW. I wouldn't see this guy.
Sure.
Now I have that availability to me to see this
gatekeepers anymore.
and be like, yeah. Well, also like the technology wasn't there. Now I could be like, hey, everyone in my backyard, come on, I can stream it. So okay, let's get to it. We're trying to crank out this hour.
Yeah. Okay.
And I also pitched to Larry. I pitched. Let's do a 4-hour one where we cover each. Well, it'll be 2 hours. 8 hour. Let's go 8 hours. Let's just bank these. Let's get every chapter. Larry looks concerned. Okay.
No, what do you mean? I'm sorry. What are you saying?
I was saying what if we just went 8 or 7 more hours and just banked all 4 chapters right now?
Well, I haven't read that many.
Oh, what? You read to 100 pages, didn't you?
Yeah.
Tag this, by the way, Larry. Cut this out. 100 pages. I thought that was
almost 4 chapters.
Almost 4 chapters. So basically, and with my highlights, I could probably tell you what happens in the last 3 pages.
Oh, so you're saying 2-hour show for each 100 pages?
I feel like we'll get to the end of this in an hour. Maybe not.
No, we're moving now. I mean,
okay. So yes, back to the
So my family doesn't want him to wrestle, and
okay.
Let's see.
Okay, yes, there was this whole conversation.
The real bitch, right? Aunt Shirley's the bitch.
Yes, there's a whole. He's eating with his aunt and uncle and cousin.
She says, "I don't think those people make much money, dear."
Yes, that's what
regards to wrestlers.
And then I highlighted a line I actually liked. I was like, yes, I like this. He describes his uncle Jim, or my cousin Jim. He has a medium build, a medium complexion, and a medium personality.
I mean, this was more... The describing of the cousin is like another 2 pages where
he goes
why that was in there.
Here's my theory. I'm here with the theories. He wanted to stress to the reader that Jim sucks.
Right.
And
Jim is someone he knows.
Jim's a dumbass. Yeah. Which is funny because then
right, I mean, he's talking about how much beer he drinks at parties. I mean, he gives a shit.
But it's that thing of like... So just before you read what Jim says, which is... I think it's coming from a place of... that defensive thing with pro wrestling, where he's like, oh, pro wrestling's actually cool, okay, and I like it. And so he likes it, and he thinks he's a cool guy. He's a drinker. He likes the ladies. This guy, Jim, you're about to read some shit that he said about it. He only drinks a beer and a half. And he gives the rest to his girl, and he never gets laid, and he said this, and pot and all that crap, he said. But I did like medium build, medium complexion, medium person. And at this point, to be clear, he's getting swole. He's starting to get big. He's reached the £1 million goal, which, again, I've
Could be
never
a million
heard
reps of 1 pound.
Yeah, I think it's cumulative. Like the whole of it. I want to lift £1 million, which then though I was trying to like do the math and be like, okay, so let's say I was still like, how does he get into 1 million? Like, what, every day? I stopped doing the math because I was just like, okay, whatever, £1 million goal. What Jim didn't know was what Jim didn't know was that I had already written several scripts for matches. Because he gets mad at these people. He's like, how would you ever know? You never been in the ring. And he's like a kid.
Yeah.
And because Jim says the worst thing you ever, that stuff's all fake. He doesn't like that.
And then we can kind of skip the next 2 pages. And then Aunt Shirley says, the family's concerned about you. I am too.
The family does. Because she's looking at his mom going, come on. And he says he starts doing this.
It kind of feels like an intervention.
He starts doing this. He starts gripping his arm. He says that. I'm sorry, I lost my I lost my place. Which I waited, gripping my left forearm like a vice for 10-second intervals. That's where I was like, uh-oh. It's an intervention. I don't have much other than, it's an intervention.
He quotes Sonny Boy Logan and cuts
yes,
a promo on the family.
Yes. Yes, he flexes. Yes, he flexes at him. This is where I go into that thing where I'm like, in his mind as he's writing, he's like, and this is cool. But now with our eyes, we're like, oh, this poor child.
Yeah.
Like, he's flexing his family and cutting a promo at dinner and being like, you don't know what you're talking about. And then his mom...
Aunt Shirley air bombs this one in. Don't give me these goddamn pro wrestler speeches. They're a bunch of overgrown, ignorant kids. Is that what you want to be? Some ridiculous cartoon?
Now, is that... I thought that was his mother. Is it his aunt?
Okay, it might have been the mother. I'm sorry.
He says, what did you want me to do when you were growing up?
Okay, it is the mother. Okay.
Yeah. So his mom hits him with that, which is worse. Because I had that highlighted too. So he's flexing, and his mom's like, God damn it.
Okay, and then is this not out of nowhere, page 19, the top, Dusk or Dawn? They're talking about that painting.
I had that
That's
highlighted.
not mentioned at all yet.
No. So, this is another thing he does. He'll drop some little thing, and then pages later, this is where an editor and also just, this is his first shot, I imagine, where you think, oh, this idea is cool. And then when you read it, if you had somebody else read it, you'd be like, what?
Yeah.
And, like, you can't, like, having Dusk Till Dawn and then being like, I'll explain it in a chapter and a half.
Right.
They'll be like, no, that's not a mystery. That's not a puzzle box. Like, you need to set that up. You just can't have that and have people be like, Dusk. I
guess it is this very page, but I don't know. It just...
You could do that now on TV shows.
Sure, prestige.
Yeah. So yeah, she asked Dusk or Dawn, and he goes Dusk, and then they move their. Okay.
And these next 2 pages are bullshit about the painting. And I wrote in highlighter, who cares?
So yes, he explains that there's a painting where it's of a sunset or a sunrise, and his mom go back and forth, and whenever they get into fights. That's their touchstone. That's what they go to calm down. I do like here. I wrote that instead the sun was approaching the Earth. Parentheses. Now this is I assume his child brain, not his prison brain. I read somewhere that in 1 billion years this would really happen.
No, I think that's the author writing that. It's the way I read it.
I mean, he just throws that in there like. By the way, I did hear that was true, that the sun will obliterate the Earth.
After our little break, we get a story about Grandpa.
Yep, and this is where Gus would be very excited. I had a lot of Chicago real estate questions.
And again, it does feel like a 1930 Chicago Baron or
Yes,
any
Gerald
type of.
Harding, which I highlighted another thing I liked. He let me drink beer so I could, quote, get a bit of glow on. This is in 2000, and I was like, I
I
like
mean,
that.
Grandpa Harding definitely played poker with Mayor Daley.
Yeah. I also heard a recent other thing from the Stephen King book, which was like an old man said this, and Stephen King latched on, where it was a report of some alcohol in there. Yeah, that'll get the legs, that'll get the legs on it. That'll get it up and going.
So Grandpa asks he has a little heart to heart with Grandpa's
Yeah.
chain smoking, asking him, "You serious about wrestling?" And then he waxes philosophic about life being about phases. It's
Oh,
very
yeah.
grandiose.
I like that he drops out of nowhere after he's been describing things ad nauseum to the point that it's an hour and 16 minutes and we're barely getting through. But then he all just drops. He excused himself and rolled his wheelchair inside. Oh, he's paralyzed.
Yeah, you got to lead with
Oh,
that.
okay. I did put 1988. I think is the year. He says my 18th birthday. This is when he has
Okay.
it. I also have highlighted moist beer bottle. Thank you. But then I was trying to do the math.
I mean, then Grandpa's right. Grandpa's got to be like 88 because he says in
I'm-
1928, I designed
I
and built a
highlighted
row
that,
of
yeah.
apartments.
Yeah. I was trying to figure out his age. Like, when did all this? He's rich. When did all this happen? Because he goes, "Oh, you wanted to be a wrestler, but I wanted to be a ball player." And he says that he was playing in 1919 or 1920, and he got an autograph or an autograph. Sorry, a contract offered to him, but he didn't sign. He didn't get it. He doesn't. That comes later, but he doesn't sign it and go. He goes, "Well, I had people to take care of." Wouldn't that the baseball contract take care of that?
Not in those days, man. That's why they were
But
wrestling in the off season, man.
he said, I did like he kept studying the mitt as though he half expected it to suddenly leap off his legs. What?
I know. So Grandpa gives him the mitt because it's symbolic.
Yes. You meet the football coach that he works out at, Chuck Grabowski.
Good Polish boy from the South Side.
Yeah. And then there was had Uncle Harry known of Charlotte Fisher, his girlfriend.
Yeah.
He gets a girlfriend. He's working out all the time. He's getting huge.
But I mean, it's. I mean, I find myself haunted by a hatred for her laugh. The dude has issues.
You don't know. No. Oh yes.
Even in the moments I felt truly drawn to her, her horrible laugh would sound in my head like a taunting chorus. And then she says, "I want to have your children."
Yeah,
And like any smart man, he gets the hell out of there.
I like. Then he also, when he barked at her, he goes, "Fingernails digging into both my thighs." I press him down further. Again, we're going back to that.
Yeah.
He says, so then he goes through all that. By the way, we made love with a passion we had never been able to capture before.
Listening to Skid Row.
Yes. That sucks, man. Marty. So then all of a sudden he's like, there's a jump. Friends, he's telling this back to friends.
Well, they bone and then they break up because she knows he's going to be a wrestler.
And then instead of a little line to denote, now we're in it. Now it bleeds right in. Yeah. That sucks, man. Marty said. Phone breakups are pretty bad. Brian added.
Well, but then he says, "At least you popped her, right?"
Yeah, he gets into that.
It was special.
Yes. So this is where it gets into again where I probably had like a is this a normal person or is this that night, and again he's like 18 now at this point. That night I wrestled with my overstuffed pillow a half hour longer than usual, repeatedly slamming it page turn on my mattress, stopping only to acknowledge the pounding accolades from the apartment below. Because the apartment's always like, "Stop wrestling with your pillow."
I don't know about accolades.
And no, they're mad at him, and he's like, he likes it.
Okay.
um, 18.
So
Wrestling
right,
as his pillow with his written little scripts.
of course, it's troubling. So his graduation, they don't run his blurb about his future plans.
Because he wrote wrestler. I'm going to go to
Okay.
this academy.
Again, same thing I did. Except mine was Les Thatcher. But he's going to Shane Stratford's Wrestling Academy, which
Is that
will
who you
get-
think it is? Shane
no, I
Stratford
think
is
it's
what
Roland Alexander.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely, because the guy's a big fat mess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was he a wrestler before? Because the guy that trains him is a
He might
wrestler.
have told somebody he was a wrestler before. I could see him telling a recruit that. But I like that he says he wrote a letter to Buck Dipter. It was
Yes.
clearly Bill Apter.
Yes. Yes. That's definitely where I was sort of like, okay, so everybody has to be somebody.
Yeah.
Yes, Buck Dipter of the Pro Wrestling Monthly, which, by the way, the magazine has a 250,000 circulation.
I'm glad we know that.
Um,
So
and then
right,
there's-
mom wants him to go to college, and he says, "I'm going to wrestling school," and she says no, and she's controlling the purse strings. But then we get our Deus Ex Machina in here, and
Yeah.
that Grandpa Gerald dies,
yeah,
and now he's got
Which-
$7,000 to go to wrestling school.
he does. I wrote for some reason, muscled out freak. Because he tells a teacher that about I'm gonna be, and the guy goes strange, and then like at this point he's like jacked, and just like I think I was picturing a child, a jacked child telling a guy, and the guy going strange. So Gerald's dead. That's what. Yeah. He grips his biceps. He starts going to that. He leaves him $7,000 and the glove, and he says it's for the upkeep of the glove.
Yeah.
So then they go to the Sears Tower and where's Gus with this? Is this a thing? The grandfather wants his ashes thrown off a Sears Tower,
Yeah.
and
But mom's got a sister.
because he's an architect and he built it. I mean, why? He finds it
No. He says
fascinating?
why? Because he says, "I never want to touch the ground."
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I have that architect thing because
Okay.
I was like, who is it? Is Ben Peller? And I tried to look. Is Ben Peller related to a Chicago architect of note that built all these? And he's like, which by the way, we didn't talk about it because it's an hour 24. But they're like, oh, he built this great property, and then a bunch of people built stuff in front of him, so he only sees the sun in like slithers.
Is that what he says?
Yeah, it's slivers. That his view was better, and then they built properties in front of his view. And I wanted to know, like, who first was built. We'll have to ask Gus when he shows up for chapter 2. So they meet in the lobby, and she has a 7th husband.
The aunt. Yeah.
And
Well, right. We get the backstory at the end. She dove in after she graduated. She married the heir of a hotel chain.
mhm.
Went to Boston, and dove into the high life, high society, and married 6 more times in the next 22 years, and only called her father once.
And we're sure that it was the son that was the dad, or was the sister? The sister is the relation.
I think it is
the mom.
Gerald had 2 girls.
Yeah, 2 girls. Because I was trying to figure that out because the way he writes he lost I was like, well, yeah, this one, it seemed really harsh on the other mother kind of comes off like we've always been poor with your dad. We cut out the pictures. It's like, wait, why? So there's some confusion there. The husband introduces himself as Jed Smythe with a Y and an E. His face hovered above a neck overcome with fat. He looked like he weighed at least 275 pounds, and I wondered if I was capable of body slamming him. I just loved that he sized this guy up in his first thought. Could I drop this guy in a body slam? That's his first thing.
And we get the line about how the aunt's hair was dyed red and her nose had obviously been sculpted to remove any trace of her Russian Jewish ancestry.
Yes.
And she spoke with an affected Boston Brahmin accent.
He goes in on this to the point that I was like, okay, so he has relatives that he hates.
Yeah. But she complains about the $7,000, blah blah blah.
Yes, she's concerned about that, even though she's very wealthy. The grandfather.
And I don't know, for some reason she's concerned about how he's going to spend the money, and they get in a fight.
And he calls her a pompous bitch.
Yes.
And then though I highlighted, he looks again at the guy and goes, I can slam. He thinks to himself, I can slam your fat ass, no problem.
Yeah.
He's on it. And then he just says, I gotta go. He leaves.
Yeah.
And then he has a party with his buddies.
Yeah, they're going to college.
They're graduating. He packs these clothes that he had on, pro wrestling magazines, workout books, my faithful wrestling pillow, and my grandfather's baseball glove. Now, I highlighted this because it comes back later. A maple tree stood in front of us, its branches waving gently to the tune of the night wind. To my blurred vision, its movements were not unlike signals of a conscious farewell. Remember that. Comes back later. I had to go back and go, oh, yeah. And he writes, remember this?
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Mom sees him off.
Yeah. He tells his friends, I gotta go, blah, blah, blah.
They want to steal a car. They're hanging out in the loop.
They want to steal a car. Gus would be necessary in these. Is that a thing that happens? He was drunk, but he feels okay, and he's on the train. Look, 128, Larry. Do you want to dive in, or do you want to just boom book them? Do 4.
We'll end the first chapter. 1 page.
Boom.